So here we are in downtown Chicopee with the continuation of the tour of Beyond Walls in Western Massachusetts, and Al Wilson here with us. And this is one of the murals that is part of the street art tour in Chicopee.
Yeah.
After Holyoke is still getting some of the murals finished. This is a beautiful piece that actually has created a really beautiful interaction for the community in Chicopee. So tell us all about Al Wilson, CEO and founder of Beyond Walls.
Yeah, so this is, behind me is the artist Bezt. He's just signing his piece now, so he's just completed this piece. He flew in from Poland, and he's been on this wall. You know, we've had sort of really challenging weather conditions where we've had a ton of storms. And then we had this massive, we're really excited for it and pumped to have it, but some pretty intense heat, but clear skies. So he rapidly moved this piece along, and the Polish community has come out and celebrated it. So it's just been a gathering spot for folks. The mayor has come over many times, the city councilors. So it's a fun piece, and we're psyched for Bezt, who's now just finishing up. He's on a lift behind us, just getting some shots. But yeah, we're pretty excited. So this piece is finished, and then we're just starting a piece by the artist in the studio Vhils, Vhils, from Portugal, from Lisbon. And so they're on a piece, and we'll get to see that in a moment. It's a very, very different process than what many people will have seen. It's very unique to Vhils, and a pretty cool piece showcasing a mill worker here in the 1800s.
This piece having not only the graphic representation that we can see clearly, a dog, but it's something that is being created by a Polish artist that represents the Polish community living in Chicopee, that also reflects the Polish community that in Holyoke has been part of its history. So it's a connection that definitely we need to acknowledge and be aware of that, and make aware of it for the communities in both cities. What has been the reaction that you have seen, and even to the point that it's been a conversation about naming this dog?
Yeah, I mean, that's been the big one. You know, folks saying, I had a dog that looked like that, or, you know, wanting to name the dog, wanting to know the story behind the dog and the meaning behind it. And, you know, to the artist, Bezt, it's pronounced Bezt, but it's B-E-Z-T. You know, he's wanted to hear from the community on what they see, right? He hasn't wanted to share what the meaning is to him. He's about to share that. So we'll be announcing that on our website, beyondwalls.org, and our social media, Beyond Walls Lynn, on Instagram and Facebook. So we'll share that. But I think that's interesting from the artist's perspective of wanting that dialogue, of wanting to hear from the community what does it mean to you? Art is subjective, and art evokes very strong feelings in folks. So this has been one of those pieces, and it's really cool because we're in this parking lot that's right next to City Hall. Folks know it well, so they've been coming in and seeing the work go up in real time. So the piece has come alive, and it's really cool to see it now complete, because there was so many challenges with the weather, and it's so good. And finally, the artist is going to be able to actually enjoy himself and maybe take in some of the other pieces. So we still have pieces going up in Holyoke, and of course we have this new piece, another piece that we're about to see here from Vhils.
So what is it for Beyond Walls to see that not only the second round of murals happening in Holyoke, but also now expanding into Chicopee with its many spaces for it, and also a vibrant community full of historical diversity and representation is now enjoying of this amazing experience of seeing these massive walls being created, and also being able to somehow being involved into that with their ideas, and of course the symbols that represent their culture and heritage.
Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting thing, is that the cities are so close to each other They have these industrial roots, but yet they're very different cities. Very different history, very different makeup today. And yet the proximity is right there, right? So close to each other. So I think, for us, this is a big part of the community development, right? And you see that. I mean, there's gatherings under every wall. And we've chatted about this in studio, right? You see folks that do come from seemingly different backgrounds, culturally, socioeconomically, take in art, start a dialogue, and then walk on together. But Beyond Walls has really worked to, we do have a very big brand sort of recognition in the space, and it allows us to curate to each individual city, to their cultural identities and their demographics with the world's best artists. So, if you do a Google search for best street artists, Vhils is going to pop up on that. Bezt is going to pop up on that. So, we want to bring those artists in because again, art is in the eye of the beholder. This piece may not appeal to you, right? It might not. And that's okay, right? That's absolutely all right. The thing that's sort of undeniable about it is one, the size, obviously, but the skill, right? And if this piece doesn't appeal to you, hopefully Vhils' piece does. And that's the part that becomes sort of the creative economy and the economic development, right? So folks come for the art. They come visit Chicopee for the art, and they take this in, and they take the piece in here, and maybe they grab a cup of coffee, or they go up to the Munich house and they grab a beer, and they stay for a meal. And you're seeing that in Holyoke, certainly, right? Now, Holyoke last year, it was, we were meant to come in and do, I think, 4 or 5 pieces of art, and we did 9. Right? And this year it was 5 to 8, and we did 13. So now all of a sudden you've got in downtown Holyoke, you've got some of the world's best artists. You've got Bordalo, too, that did the Moose. You've got Beckismo, who is a street art legend in Puerto Rico, is on all the, he's in Bad Bunny videos, right? He's a legend. You've got David Zayas and Don Rymix, who were celebrated by the community and really brought in as sort of favored sons of the community. And they came back. They have pieces there from last year. They came back and they did a collab. But you also have Case McLean, right? Case is a phenomenal artist, a world-renowned artist. Came in from Germany, and he did a piece on John Brown, right? John Brown, who lived in Springfield and was here when Holyoke was incorporated in 1850. So you've got, still with the ode to the Puerto Rican history and current day, you've got Alexis Diaz. Again, a phenomenal, world-renowned artist. It's in Holyoke. He's got a piece in Holyoke. And now you've got Ruben Ybarra, a Dominican-born artist, who's doing a piece on the Holyoke Community Health Center, which plays such a critical role in the community. And he's doing a piece that's celebrating all the diversity of Holyoke, certainly the Puerto Rican background, but also the Irish, right? We brought in BK Fox and CP1, and they did a collab together. BK is from New York, but her family roots are Irish. She holds an Irish passport and Irish citizenship, and she's done a piece there in South Holyoke as you come off the highway alongside CP1, and they collab together. So you get to see that. So I think really the reality now for Holyoke is you have pieces of art that if you wanted to see these artists in the United States, you could go to LA and see a couple of them. You could go to Miami and see a couple of them. But you could not see a Bordalo and an Alexis Diaz and a Case McLean. By the way, Alexis Diaz and Case McLean are on the same building. They're on either side of the same building. You just could not see this level of artistry anywhere. And that's what's gonna have street art tours. The creative economy is very real. And Holyoke, based on the leadership in Holyoke, and based on the community in Holyoke that came together, now has a real asset for the city. With I think a lot of folks feeling that they are heard, they are certainly seen, and it's up on the walls.
So how do you feel seeing the result of these murals being completed little by little, and at the same time the reactions of the communities, both in Holyoke and Chicopee, as they see these murals appearing, popping up, and the interactions that have happened because of this between the community and the artist and yourself?
Yeah, I mean, our desires are always for the audience, the community, the bulk of the community, to see it and the art come to life before them, and to not see the struggle of the production. So it's extremely special to see that happen. It's possibly even more special for us, and really for the coalition that allowed this to happen. Folks at Nueva Esperanza and their board, Mayor Garcia, Aaron Vega, and the whole team. And I'm not gonna mention everyone, but it takes a village. The nurses and the folks at Holyoke Community College the Holyoke Health Center, and their leadership that were very involved. The Holyoke Community College professors and the leadership there that allowed that piece to come together. So for them, they got to see a bit more of the struggle, because the struggle was very real. I mean, we had, I think 7 days in a row, we had rain at some level with thunder. So we had to get the artists off the lifts. We had to make sure the paint wasn't gonna run. So there are those challenges, and that group is aware of some of those. And so for them and for us, when you finally get to see an artist finish their piece, it's awesome, because there is always that little bit of gulp, that little bit of fear. We've never failed to pull off a piece, and it's good to keep that run going, you know. So it's a big relief, but it's also a celebration. And now we get to see a piece coming to life here in Chicopee, in Vhils, and you'll get to follow along and really see a piece come to life in Holyoke at the Health Center with Ruben Ybarra's piece now really starting. Huge amount of community feedback. Holyoke media was there for some of these meetings that took place between the leadership and the community, but there was more. There was breakfasts with the Irish community. There was interactions that are happening at the Health Center every given night. Those Ruben has put into his head. I need to find a place for that in the piece, and you're seeing that. So the piece is really transforming, and it's really going to come together now.
What an amazing experience, and if anything, we are grateful that Beyond Walls is making this possible, because it's uniting communities and making them feel proud of their heritage, and also to be more aware of the beauty in their environment and surroundings. And now with this amplifying pieces of art, public art, I think it's another way to add elements of pride and beauty, artistic beauty, that are part of the components of our vibrant societies in these different communities with rich heritage backgrounds in Western Massachusetts.
That's the amazing moments, are those moments where, you know, we did a United Rentals helped, One Holyoke helped, alongside Beyond Walls, clean up downtown Holyoke, right? We did a big trash bag cleanup. We called it Trash Bags to the Streets. And we worked, and we probably had 40, 50 people out there picking up trash during what was a torrential rainstorm. And as we came by the Speedway, the gas station there in South Holyoke, folks that were in the parking lot started picking up the trash in the parking lot and coming over and asking for bags and getting the bags and picking up the trash. We saw people come out and prime the trim of their buildings that hadn't been primed in years, decades maybe. We saw folks come out and do the facade over of their building. Lots of landscaping suddenly happening. So there is this community pride aspect to it where, you know, it just takes, it's just it's a motion, it's a step forward that then becomes a movement, and people see that pride and they want to take part in that. And it's always the thing that makes me emotional, is seeing that happen. And you never know what is going to be the trigger, what's the catalyst for it, you know? And it's those special moments of pride and deciding to, like, let's lift up this community. It's the weird moments, special moments that happen under walls, where, you know, last year we did a barbecue, you know, and we did one at the health center this year, right? We did a barbecue in South Holyoke. Anyone showed up, we fed them, we gave them drinks, all walks of life. Folks were there that definitely, you know, on a given day, maybe the police are chasing them. Maybe they're running from the police. They actually mixed it up together, and I saw a police officer say, "Hey, just so you know, we're not after you tonight." And a gentleman said, "Just so you know, I'm not doing the thing that has you after me." And they actually stood there and they had a meal together, they had a drink together. And it's under a 5.5-story plastic mousse by Bordello. And you can't quantify that. How can you say that, hey, if we install a 5.5-story made of trash that would have gone into a landfill plastic mousse, somehow we will bring this group together to have dialogue. And they now know each other's names, proper names, and have a relationship that they didn't have before. They had a relationship that was based on one level. Now they have a different relationship, and they find out that they each have kids and what the kids' names are and where they go to school, and it's a dialogue piece. So that's the special stuff that it's very hard to quantify, but it happens in these projects. And I gotta tell you, Holyoke is just so special. For me personally, this was a return to the 413 in a big, big way. You know, I lived out here 25 years ago, and it's felt 23 years ago. It's felt like a huge homecoming, and I cannot believe the outpouring of support from the community. It's just so, so special, very special. Makes me emotional.
Well, we share this same feelings of being emotional, because this public art brings up a new energy that sometimes for some people is most needed, for others just the reaffirmation of what it means to be proud of being from this particular cities and these particular places, by doing the work that they do every single day and having that affirmation and that recognition of their heritage, their work, their identities through this public art that is just amazing. And also an amazing experience to see how it is being created. So I think Beyond Walls is creating not only the statement of these murals, but also a really active work of community engagement through the time the artists are here, you being here, and making sure that community is involved with the progress of these murals being created in these communities.
Yeah, you know, it's been special, and I'm very much hopeful for a year 3 in Holyoke. I think there's a way that we can bridge the space from South Holyoke up to High Street, up, and connect that, and that thoroughfare can then trigger all sorts of things, you know, more street art tours, 5Ks that can be run between murals, you know, walking tours. So I'm very hopeful of that. I think, you know, for us, Nueva Esperanza, again, I can't shout them out enough. I can't shout out Holyoke Community College or Holyoke Health Center enough. Hazen Paper has been a big supporter, and they're lovely. And they produce stuff, you know, Golden 305 from Venezuela, who works with us as sort of the field general. He has a print shop in Miami. He's a printer. And I took him in to see Hazen Paper, and he's got this deep, gravelly voice. He's like, you know, homie, you know that there is no American printer that can do what Hazen Paper does. They do this in China. Like, this is incredible what he does. Hazen Paper is a amazing business in Holyoke. It's very special that you have that there. But it's, for us, it's also like the Painters Union, the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades and their support, and United Rentals, the lifts, like a major support arm for us. The reason why we were able to do the work in Holyoke this year is really based on that, and that's how we facilitated this cleanup. But One Holyoke was involved, so many people, and there's so many department heads that I'm leaving out. There's so many, but the mayor's office and the planning department and community development and economic development, they're just spectacular. So you got something special in Holyoke Media, a nod to Holyoke Media. You cover an awful lot, and it's nice to have a group that, yes, you cover the troubling stories, the tough stories, the challenging stories, but that doesn't mean that you don't cover the good stories, the positive stories. And that's what I think is missing today, right? That's what's missing. Something happens in Holyoke that's negative, and they send a truck. That's the major outlets, but they don't send that truck when there's something good, and that's why Holyoke Media is such a trusted member of the community, because they're telling the full story, and you're seeing that. So if I was wearing a hat, I'd tip it, but I appreciate you.
Well, Al, thank you so much, and we will continue looking to the work that Beyond Walls is doing in all the different gateway cities. Right now you are here in Western Massachusetts, but we are continue following up on your work throughout the whole Massachusetts, because gateway cities, we share so much in common, and it's important to share and put out and showcase those stories that connects us all over.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.